All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Brothers and Boss Battles, a video game showdown. Today we're taking on the third of our category of games where the protagonist name is the name of the game. And today we're talking Alan Wake. Tom, why don't you start us off with initial thoughts?
Sure. So I'm a pretty big fan of survival horror games, and I'm just gonna say this one is no exception. I like the game a lot. I played it the original on Xbox 360. Enjoyed it then, and then I was pretty excited when the remaster was announced for PS4. I think it's also available on PS5, right? But anyway, yeah. So I got that. I think like immediately when it came out and played it again, liked it again. It's a cool game. It has a cool story. I thought the acting was good. We'll get into that, but I don't know. It was pretty immersive, and yeah, I think there's a lot of good things about this game.
Pete, what about you?
Well, first I'll say I don't know if it's really even classified as a survival horror game. I was reading more the second one was more true to survival horror. But anyway, maybe we'll do that in a future episode. So I had no experience with Alan Wake, or really didn't really even know kind of what it was about until I played it for this episode. So I was coming in with a fresh set of eyes. There's some things to like, some things not to like, but I'll say, since Tom, you mentioned how the acting was good, I disagree with that. And just for the game in general, it was really focused on the storytelling, I think. And I have to say, it was, some pretty corny stuff, and the story was kind of convoluted, and overall not that great.
All right, and I'll just say that I always really liked Alan Wake from when it first came out. I also played it back when it originally came out and was excited to get to the remaster. And I did like it. It's funny, I'll just say this here and then we can get into a little bit more. When I first played the remaster, I didn't like it as much as I had remembered liking the original. But then I played it again, played on Nightmare mode, and I really started getting back into liking Alan Wake and the game, and I'm excited to talk about it, excited to play eventually Alan Wake 2 whenever I get the opportunity, so should be a good episode. Alan Wake, originally released in 2010, May 14th, 2010 to be exact, developed by Remedy Studios and published by Microsoft Game Studios, was originally released for the Xbox, with a Windows version following in February 2012. Epic Games then published the remastered version for PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and Windows in October 2021, with a Nintendo Switch version releasing the following year.
Or Switch always gets the games like a year or so later,
Yeah, they gotta try to get those, try to fit it into a less powerful system. All right, just before we start in earnest, for those that don't know, Brothers and Boss Battles, a video game showdown, is our podcast here where me, Anthony, and my two brothers, Pete and Tom, talk about video games, new and old. We talk about those games, story, gameplay, graphics, sound, effect on the gaming world, and more. Specifically, the way this show works is that we name a category or genre of games, each selecting a game within that genre or category, and taking the first 3 episodes of that grouping to discuss the video games. Our 4th episode in that grouping is called our Brodown episode, since we're brothers, where we have a courtroom-style debate. Each of us defending the game that we chose while attacking the other two, and ultimately we declare a winner. All right, let's do some more Alan Wake talking. And I'll just make the joke here where it sounds like from Pete's intro that he rather call it Alan Sleep.
I was calling it that a number of times as I was playing.
No,
That's no,
it's really not.
I
It's not.
I didn't get
it's
that at all,
it's
honestly. With
not.
this.
No, no. I'm not trying to sit here and be like, oh, it was a bad game. Like I did have fun playing it, but I don't know. Is it something that I'm gonna like tell all my friends about?
Yeah,
I
you know,
played it.
I kind of have the same
Yeah.
feeling towards the game where I had a lot of fun playing it, but it's kind of like simple fun, you know? It's not really like
Yes,
it
yes.
doesn't have like a ton of depth, I feel.
Which is weird though, because so I kind of, I guess I kind of alluded to like that when in the intro too, where it's like when I initially played it again, whatever. But I kind of, I was like, all right, that was good, because I remembered before I replayed it being enamored with it when I originally played it, like just so cool that like you're a writer and like you're there's these enemies that are shrouded in darkness and you have to shine light on them and break that protective barrier before you can kill them. And like I just thought that was so unique. And
Well,
and
hold
just
on. It's not unique. It's kind of. I remember playing that in Luigi's Mansion.
did Luigi's
What?
Mansion come out first?
Pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
Right. In Luigi's Mansion, you use the flashlight to kind of stun the ghosts, and then you
Yeah.
suck them in the vacuum. So even that wasn't really innovative.
I don't think they were trying to copy Luigi's Mansion with this game.
Yeah. I don't
Oh,
know. I
so it's
just don't.
allowed because they weren't trying to do it.
Let me just set up the story for the listeners. Then the story follows a crime author, Alan Wake. He's having a bit of writer's block, so he winds up going to the town of Bright Falls. Uh, it turns out his wife kind of convinced him, or sort of surreptitiously got him to go, and they both go on this trip. Um, uh, because there's a psychologist there that helps artists that are have issues. Uh, it turns into this whole thing where he sees his wife get taken by this being, and he's missing a week of his life, and then he's up and facing off against all of these enemies in Bright Falls and trying to uncover what happened to his wife and trying to rescue her. So, that's sort of the setup. It's, that it sounds like a very horror, action suspense thriller kind of game and plot line. And just for the listeners, we this is the third of the this category, and it's another Remedy game. And and the other one we did was Max Payne, and I kind of do see some similarities in the way they produce games or develop games, rather. So,
Yeah, I think so too. I think we actually said some similar things about Max Payne, where it's just like a fun game,
yeah.
you know, even though it's not,
But
I don't know, like some like groundbreaking thing.
what I was kind of talking about and was more like definitely the use of the actors that can't act kind of a thing.
I don't know. I think I mean, some of them, like the
The Night
Sheriff,
Springs shows were
Sheriff,
like very
uh,
badly acted.
yeah, I get,
Okay, let's get into this now.
yeah, yeah,
Well, first of
Yeah.
all, not to compare, but Max Payne, I didn't necessarily think his acting was bad. I thought the script writing was,
Okay. Yeah.
not great. In this one, I was like, the acting is a little like
I don't know.
so.
I thought Alan and Barry were both good.
Barry was good.
Barry was the
He was
best, I thought.
convincing. Yeah, he was very
The
convincing.
the
But I
part that
thought, yeah, go ahead.
no, the
I
part that
thought,
really sticks out to
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, I really
No,
just,
you go, you go,
no,
you go,
no,
you
you go
go.
because I've been talking a
Okay.
lot. So,
I said the part that really sticks out to me is when he was on that like late night show,
yes.
the
Well,
Harry Garrett show, I think.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That I mean that whole 3 minute dialogue was just so cringy. It
Yeah.
was like
I think it was meant to be like he's sort
Yeah,
of
yeah.
this like obnoxious celebrity on this like obnoxious celebrity show. I mean, I guess they could have done, but I think that was sort of purposeful.
I think
But
so for sure.
yeah,
well, I don't get it. I
that
really don't get it.
that's sort of the thing. What do you mean you don't get it?
Why would that be purposeful?
Because that was like at a point in the game where he's kind of, if I remember correctly, gone through a whole bunch of trials and tribulations in the game, and one can say he was made to be humbled by all of that. But he very much was this sort of, brash kind of celebrity. I mean,
Okay, I
and
mean,
that
I guess.
show was supposed to be before all of this happened.
Yeah, yeah,
So, it was, I think, exaggerating that fact. So, in case you didn't get it from like the earlier part of the game and like the rest of the game. And that kind of, and that's the thing why I think initially didn't enjoy it as much. I found Alan to be a very unlikable protagonist early on.
yeah, but I agree with you. But going back to my point, like you could portray an actor, a good actor could portray
Yes,
being
well,
sort of a smug actor without being
yeah,
over the top and
yeah, that's
cringy.
true too.
Yeah, but I don't know. That like cringy doesn't really speak to the acting. It's more the writing.
Yeah, I guess you're right. You're right. It was a little of both, though.
So yeah, the
It does seem
other
like that's kind of like you were saying, not to compare,
Yeah,
but like with Max Payne,
yeah,
like,
you're right.
like
You're
Remedy,
right.
maybe that's their thing. Like they create these kind of like over the top characters with these
yeah,
Yeah,
but I think
lines.
that's what they did. That's what I was saying when I think the comparisons between the two are no more obvious than with like the acting and the like the way the characters look. Because if you go so in this game, there is a you come across these TVs and a show if you turn them on called Night Springs plays. And Night Springs was a show that Alan early in his writing career worked on, so it's relevant in that sense. But they're basically like Twilight Zone episodes. So they have like real actors. Well, they have again, they have actual people playing these things. It's not like a cartoon drawn thing or just audio or whatever. And they have like typical kind of Twilight Zoney lessons in them. And I thought that was really cool. I mean, that was the thing I really liked in it. But like the I get what they were trying to do, but the acting in those is just like really bad. It really seems like they got friends of like the developers to play all of those parts.
I
yeah,
mean,
for
maybe,
sure.
yeah. I don't know. I guess you know, just from a purely like monetary perspective, it probably wasn't worth
Yeah.
hiring top talent for these
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the Easter eggs in the game.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so that's the thing that aspect didn't bother me because it was like a show within the game, like a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
TV. So that
No,
was
I know.
fine.
I wouldn't say it bothered me, but it did kind of, I don't know, kind of like something I noticed, something I wanted to
Yeah,
bring up.
I
Um,
liked them. I stopped and watched them.
I did too. Some of them are
yeah,
good.
no, they were
Maybe
really cool.
we
Yeah.
we could talk about our favorite Night Springs episodes later on.
I also liked, since we're kind of on this topic, and I'm exaggerating a little, but remember when you you're being chased by like law enforcement, and then you go
Yeah.
to the radio station,
Yeah, yeah.
and then like the cop is like he calls him like an author's name or something. It's like, I'm gonna get you, F. Scott
Yeah,
Fitzgerald
well,
or something.
that's Agent Nightingale, the FBI guy.
Yeah,
He's
yeah, he
like,
Yeah.
was.
he was like over the, like, I mean, come on.
Yeah, no,
He's
I don't
so
care how
dumb.
much you like or dislike law enforcement. Like, none of
yeah,
them act like that.
Yeah.
It's like,
He was
they
like,
just like start shooting like
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's
well,
He
I
said
don't
something like, I'm
know.
gonna like
no,
get
but
you or die trying,
yeah,
Charles Dickens.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and he
he
kept
kept
doing
calling them
that.
different authors.
James Joyce. There was a
Yeah.
few in there that I didn't know. It was like,
He said, did he say Stephen King ones too or something?
yeah, yeah, Stephen King. Which is,
Well,
I mean,
Stephen,
he was a heavily, I think his work was heavily like used in this.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I think Alan specifically mentioned him, or maybe not.
Yeah, he did.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He kind of compared his situation early on to a Stephen King novel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was, I don't know, there's a lot with the story here. And we'll get into the more, I guess, video game aspects, but I was watching a few YouTube videos, and they were kind of just like review, basic kind of stuff. But I started watching one from Hidden Machine Gaming, and it's an hour and a half long, so I didn't get through much, but it's starting off very interesting. And apparently there was a web series called Bright Falls, and then there was also a couple of books, one which came with the special edition of the game that has like more Easter eggs and clues as to like exactly what's going on, and it's just like it really builds the world up more, and I think that's pretty cool. Oh, and well, I should have said it already. We didn't give away too much. We will be giving a spoiler warning now, so we'll be talking about the story, maybe a little bit of we haven't played Alan Wake 2, so none of that will be in here, but maybe a little Alan Wake American Nightmare, and um that's probably it. But uh you have been warned. All right.
So
Yeah, so there was like Agent
did you watch the
Nightingale
web
was
series?
no, I didn't. Wait,
No,
I
yeah,
just want to go a
yeah.
little bit more into the character. Like I didn't know the web series existed until about a half hour ago while I was watching this video, so or an hour ago, whenever. So with the character, so Agent Nightingale, obviously very over the top. Um,
Yeah, that was a dumb character.
yeah. And as far as the bad acting is concerned, and I don't know if this was like a technique they were trying out, but the Thomas Zane sounded like he was reading off a script, like literally every line that was delivered.
Well, he probably was.
Well, you get a script and you learn your lines. You don't like literally
Yeah.
read off of it. I don't think that's what actors do. But anyway, I thought, we'll get it a little bit more into who Thomas Zane is, but I just thought
I
that
thought
was,
Sheriff Breaker was very poorly acted.
yeah, badly act. Yeah, really. I mean, I honestly didn't even think Alan was that good. I really just think Barry was like, he was spot on, the
Yeah,
George Costanza of the game.
I didn't really get George
I
Costanza,
didn't get that either. Yeah.
Really? Oh,
No.
wow.
No.
but he was good. Yeah,
I also, for what it's worth, I feel like the villains when they spoke, like at in during the gameplay during the combat,
Yeah.
was kind of good
Well,
and sounded
yeah.
creepy and made you scared.
Yeah, they put that distorted voice on them.
Yeah.
And I like how they would just say like the most basic stuff, like
Yeah.
in line with what they were, like the fisherman. It's like fishing is both a hobby and a job, or something was one of the
yeah,
lines.
yeah.
The other one, my favorite one was, ah, I'll get it mostly right, but it was like omega-3 fatty acids are good for your health.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was my favorite one. Yeah. But when they said it, I was like spooked,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the way they added
yeah,
the effects and stuff.
yeah, yeah. It definitely had like dark atmosphere to it.
Yeah.
I mean, as
Sometimes
far,
too dark.
yeah, meaning you couldn't see or you were too scared.
More like couldn't see.
Yeah.
And this was like one of my gripes with the game was I don't know if I want to go there yet, but like sometimes there's a lot of like woody areas, like
Like the forest,
meaning like the
like
woods.
yeah, woody area.
And they were just like very open a lot, and sometimes you're like like for me personally, like I want to explore and pick up all my coffee thermoses and whatnot, but that was just like really it kind of made me like not want to do that because of how open it was and like how everything looked kind of the same. And then Alan, being a writer, he didn't have much sprinting stamina, so like
Oh
he
yeah,
was constantly going and getting out of breath, and it's like
Yeah, that was a little annoying.
he couldn't
yeah,
do it quickly, so,
yeah. He really ran out of breath very quickly.
He shot guns and stuff pretty well for a writer, though.
Yeah, they did have a throwaway line in there where he said, "I've never shot in a gun before, other than at the range." So he did have some experience with guns.
I wonder if you ever had any experience running.
Yeah. Well, he lived in New York City, so maybe he took the subway everywhere and didn't have to run.
City bikes, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if they had them back then.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But so to get into the gameplay, I guess a little bit
Hmm.
for the fact that Tom, you mentioned that like the wooded area and other areas too were kind of big and open. They did have that like mini map basically that showed you where to go, and that was incredibly like effective
Oh
in
yeah.
Yeah.
directing you.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I didn't have a problem with getting lost.
Right?
It's
No,
just
I know.
I wanted to explore more, but was kind of just felt discouraged from doing that.
Yeah,
That's
like
fine.
I hate that kind of stuff, but
Yeah, I'm the
I
opposite.
almost feel like that map was too effective. Like it really was like could have just been like a light shining on where you had to go next.
Which it was at times.
Yes, that's right.
Those were the checkpoints.
Of which there were many.
Yeah, see, I can't. I unfortunately cannot speak to the 20 was it 2010? What did I say in the intro? To the original Xbox version.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
2010. So unfortunately, I don't know if the remaster is just another example of throwing a bunch of checkpoints in new games,
Yeah.
or if the old one was like so. I can't really say, but yeah, there kind of is a lot.
I didn't feel that way. Like I felt like after a big gauntlet or something, then there was a checkpoint, or right before it. But it wasn't like it wasn't like in the middle of something where you felt like
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
know you kind of beat half of it and now you have a checkpoint and you're kind of cheating. I never really felt like that.
yeah.
I felt like it was only after or before parts where I shouldn't have to replay if I died at another part. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that they really like detracted from the game. Like I wasn't like, oh man, I wish I had to fight more enemies before I could hit a
Yeah,
checkpoint. But the
I
yeah,
don't know.
checkpoint did also heal you completely.
yeah,
I think most of them
yeah.
anyway.
But
But
I will say you could die quickly.
Yeah, I did die
Yeah,
sometimes.
and I play. I'm glad I played on Nightmare mode because even that wasn't like so hard, but it did make it a little bit more challenging. And they're like just better at like the enemies are just better at swiping you. Like they'll get two shots in every time, and it
Mm.
takes up a little bit more. So
But that one enemy type who throws the axes at you,
oh, so
I felt
annoying.
it was so accurate, even
Yeah,
on like the easy difficulty or like
like
the standard difficulty.
I want to go to axe throwing with you and have you on my team.
Yeah,
but even not in the light where he would regenerate all his health like basically instantly, you would still regenerate all your health, right? Over time if you weren't getting hit.
You would regenerate it. I don't know if it would go up all the way. I don't remember.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't all the way, but it was a good amount away. It was maybe 80% or something. Like
Mm.
the game wasn't really about like
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be like this difficult game, I guess.
and that's why I don't really classify it as survival horror. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't supposed to be. It was more like, okay, this is a tough part. You have to get through it. And once you get through it, it wasn't like, it wasn't like Evil Within to call back that game where it's like, oh, I got hit one too many times. I want to redo it again and try to beat it with getting hit one less time or using one less bullet. It wasn't like that. It was more like challenges throughout the game, and then once you beat that, it was kind of like, okay, your health is better.
Yeah. Yeah.
You find a whole bunch more ammo, and then you're ready for the next challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I will say on Nightmare, I never ran out of ammo.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
I mean, yeah.
I
It
mean, I
was
didn't play Nightmare, but yeah, I never had any issues
Yes,
with ammo either.
same.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it was very like to your point, more linear.
It really isn't considered a
Like
survival
segmented.
horror. It's like
Yeah,
it's a
segmented. Yeah.
horror game, but it's not really a survival horror.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
yeah, there's not really survival elements to it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they give you a lot like yeah, they give you a ton of ammo like whenever you need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It's
I
still
love like the
fun though.
dumpsters that just had like
Yeah,
unlimited.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's not about like preserving or like carrying over your like weapons to the next chapter or whatever.
Yeah,
Well, that was the
exactly.
thing. Almost every chapter, you would at the end of it, you would lose all your weapons and then have to
Yeah,
get them back the next the
I
next
believe they're called
chapter.
that's fun.
episodes.
Episode.
Episode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause it was
actually, they wanted to. I think the developers wanted to release the game, the original game, in like episode by episode, like not as
oh,
a full game.
oh, wow.
And Microsoft didn't want to do that.
Yeah. That
Basically,
would
they were
have
concerned like people buy the first one and then
yeah.
half the people don't buy the second episode.
Yeah. That would have been interesting because most of the episodic games are not like this action packed.
Hmm.
Like they're more like
Yeah,
strictly
Yeah.
story. Like the Telltale games and all of those.
yeah. Another thing I was reading about this was that they were influenced by the show Lost, right, which is kind of
Oh, they were?
around
We're,
that.
we're
Just
Lost
in this,
fans here.
yeah, yeah. Not in the story or anything like that, but I think just in the
Like
pace, like the pacing and how that was basically around that same time.
Yeah.
Like Lost was what, mid 2000s.
yeah.
what I had read it was like, and I know neither of you guys watched this show, but was Twin Peaks was like an influence on this, which it is sort of like a creepy show, but with with a mystery to be solved by this, main kind of detective protagonist. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, but
The reference to Lost was more about the delivering like episode by episode.
yeah, it was, and it was also like they did the previously on like
Yeah,
before the start of
Yeah,
each
yeah,
chapter, so that was cool.
yeah. And they even like, there were some like episodes I think that started with flashbacks and
Yeah,
things like that,
yeah,
which was something that Lost did a lot.
right.
Not starting the episode, but well, I guess some of them did, but
Yeah, yeah. That was cool. No, they really tried to make it like something you could watch, you know.
yeah, exactly. And that's why I feel like the acting or writing, whatever you want to call it, was disappointing. I really feel like it could have really had a big effect on the gaming world if it actually was something you would watch.
Yeah.
Like no one would watch that with that kind of acting.
Well, no.
So that was the problem.
I feel like it's almost like a thing with horror games to make them cheesy or not, not being the
Yeah.
best actors. Like they- maybe they were still kind of in
Early.
that Resident Evil
Yeah. Early
inspiration.
Resident Evil. The acting has gotten better in Resident Evil games though.
Yeah,
So we should
somewhat.
so we should talk about the gameplay since it's a game. We talked about the running a little bit. I mean, that was done with I believe it was the I played on PlayStation, the L shoulder button. Um,
L2, I think it was, right?
oh, was it L2? I thought it was L1.
I'm not sure. Whatever.
Yeah.
When you play the game, you'll figure it out.
Yeah. But the thing I didn't like about that, and that this was, I gotta say, the controls, even on the remastered version, are not that great. They're not bad. It's not an N64, you know, 3D platformer, but they're not great. And I think my biggest complaint was with the sprint button, which was also the dodge button. So there were times where like you were like sprinting and then wanting to dodge, and it would almost always screw up and wound up getting hit and not dodging. The dodging, for those that don't know, it had like a slowdown mechanic. So if you timed it correctly, you would slow down, dodge, and attack, and then, could run or shoot or do whatever you had to do. Like, so that was a little disappointing to me
Yeah.
that and I think it was because it was the same button used for both.
Yeah, there was a lot of times where I like was trying to sprint away and then I just ended up dodging. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I
Yeah,
wasn't trying
that
to do
happened a
that,
lot.
but and then like anytime he tries to like run, he does like that ducking dodge animation. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a
yeah,
little
yeah,
clunky. But there was
yeah,
never, well, I don't want to say never, but there was rarely a time where I wanted to dodge and I didn't, and I sprinted instead.
Yeah, yeah,
It
I agree with
was
that.
usually the other way around,
yeah. It
which
was
is
the
fine.
other. Yeah, but there was sometimes because you're already holding the L button to run, then you almost got to like let it go and then do it again and it wouldn't always register. At least the way I don't know, at least with me. So I maybe just wasn't very good at it, but that was sort of a problem. I love the fact though that you had to kind of shine the light and break that uh, dark exterior barrier before you could shoot them. I thought that was a pretty cool element and fit within the whole story of the light and the dark and the balance and the dark presence. And
Yeah, I mean,
I thought
that
that
was
was
good.
I thought that
Without
was
that,
good.
I don't know. Without that mechanic, I don't know what the game would
Yeah,
be.
because it's
Yeah, I
not
mean,
a game.
if it was just like a game, like a where you're just shooting normally without having to do any of that stuff with the light, that would have been like just
Yeah,
like boring, I think.
Yeah,
yeah. People
because
have
the
been
light.
playing this and been like, "Why am I playing this and not Max Payne right now?"
Yeah, because that whole mechanic was cool because it like you'd have to shine it on them and it would sort of like brace those bad guys for a little bit where it would slow them down, or sometimes you could shine a light in their eyes and it would distract them. So you had to use it strategically because you weren't always able to burn off that dark exterior in just one use of a flashlight or whatever. So that was it added to the strategy because it wasn't just all about guns and shooting. And they kind of stressed that with the fact that like you get some different guns, but you never get your bazooka, your machine gun. It was all sort of more stuff you'd find in, you know, regular settings, like, a revolver or a hunting rifle or
Mm,
something like
like that.
that.
Just lying around there.
Well, well, Thomas Zane provided it to him,
Hmm.
which we will get into as we move on with this episode. That's how it's explained. Yeah, so that was one of the control things I wanted to talk about gameplay, but the other thing was, and harkening back to another Remedy game, Max Payne, but the jumping was a little annoying in this game too. Not nearly as bad platforming as in Max Payne, but I mean, not to compare.
Yeah.
But
There wasn't there wasn't much of it. There was that one part in the one of the DLC episodes that was
oh,
a bit platformy, which was quite annoying, but
when the thing was spinning, like slowly spinning.
yeah, that was part of it. And there was another part where like these objects just you basically have to platform over a bunch of objects that are rotating around the thing.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. But even in the main game, it was just like, climbing up a rock or there was that part in the lumber yard where you have to like jump to the like paddle of lumber or whatever it's called, like, yeah, I don't know, like there was just like it was a little clumsy.
Yeah, it was a little clumsy, but it wasn't like in other games where it's like you would fall to your death and you had to start over and
There some of those platforms, if you fell off them, you would die because it'd be too high a level.
oh,
Yeah,
well, I don't
but
think I ever fell off.
yeah,
You could walk in a straight line in this game, which was nice.
Yeah, yeah.
that's true, which you had to do in some parts.
You had to zigzag to not get hit by that axe,
Yeah.
actually.
So, um, as far as the like villains in the game are concerned, I mean, anything else you want to talk about the controls?
Not really. I guess
Yeah,
swapping between your weapons was
yeah,
it was okay.
yeah. The reloading was tough because like you'd have to press it multiple times to reload multiple built bullets. Like you'd have to press square on the PlayStation controller. Like if you just like kept shooting, like if you ran out of your bullets and then shot again, he would load the gun with one bullet and then, but then you'd
Yeah.
be able to shoot. So like, that would, I mean, it all added to the strategy and the
I like that because sometimes
difficulty.
Yeah, I like
sometimes
that too.
an enemy would have one shot and you had to kill it, and then
Yeah.
you could just load the one bullet, kill it, and then reload all the bullets.
Sometimes I got a little confused with like using the flare or the flash bang or whatever it was called.
Yeah, those are cool.
Those
No,
are
they're
awesome.
cool,
Yeah.
but sometimes I just got confused and like didn't use the thing I meant to use.
Mm,
Yeah, that happened to me too sometimes.
yeah. Yeah, because
When
if
you
you,
like, pick up a new item, they automatically like
yeah,
it for you,
right.
like
Yeah.
a new weapon or like throwable.
Yeah, which stunk because like I wound up wasting flare gun ammo on that, which was
Yeah,
like the best item in the game. It was so fun. And it would do a slowdown if you like hit the guy and it was gonna kill them. Like it was pretty fun.
like a bullet time effect.
Yeah.
Hmm. Even like the dodging, it was a little like cinematic and cool to pull
Yeah,
off, even though it
Yeah.
wasn't that hard. Like, you would gonna do it a bunch of times throughout the game. It wasn't that hard. It was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that also had the remedy flair to it too, I think. Um, yeah, but the gameplay was overall good. I just thought the controls were a little bit.
yeah. I like the parts in the car when you had to like fight enemies in the car.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I actually didn't
That was
like
so
those.
dumb, yeah.
I don't think it was dumb. I just didn't like it, and it was weird that like now it just kind of was confusing because I thought A, the controls weren't great, but B, like you would have to the button you would usually use to shine the light or
It
to
was
go.
different.
It
Yeah.
was different. You'd have to press like X, which would
X, yeah.
so that was like to do you use your high beams essentially.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was a cool, like,
Yeah,
different way to like to break up the gameplay a little bit, so you aren't
yeah,
the whole time.
yeah, and it wasn't so much of that to be honest. So
Yeah.
it was a nice little break, but
There was one part where you had to, was it where you had to basically go back to one of the earlier parts of the game? I just felt like you were just driving in the car for so long.
Oh, you mean like before it got dark out, right?
Yeah,
oh
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's the last level where you're going to, yeah,
Right. Yeah, it was towards the end, yeah.
yeah.
I didn't care for that part.
Did anybody else want to like get out of the car and like look around and stuff?
Well, I did.
Yeah, I didn't want to, but that is a thing that I thought of
I
during those parts where it's just like now you're really deterring people from doing that.
I'm
Yeah,
interested to
because
see
so
what.
much. And I felt like there was a lot of times where you can like really go out of your way and there would be nothing there,
Yeah,
which
I don't
was
know.
kind
I'm
of,
interested to know what like the your collectibles counts based on what you guys are saying. It doesn't seem like you
yeah.
explored much, and I kind of made it a point. So I do have my stats before I platted, got the platinum trophy on Nightmare. So I have my comparable stats to you guys, which we'll talk about at the end.
Cool, cool.
But yeah. So like moving on, I guess to like the villains of this game, they're all kind of the same. There's really very limited boss battles. It's basically, your townsfolk shrouded in darkness and possessed by the dark presence for most of it. But what the other interesting parts is that that dark presence can also infect, if you want to use that word, objects.
Yeah.
So, the tractor is coming after you, and like barrels are flying towards you, and it had a very, like I guess they called them like poltergeist. So it was like sort of possessed objects as well as the people. So I thought that that was a cool little, difference.
I didn't care for those parts either.
I mean, they were tough, but I
Yeah,
mean, I thought they were a
Yeah,
good
some of them like
addition.
really took a lot of
yeah,
Yeah.
light.
Yeah.
battery. Mm,
I think that one of the most difficult enemies in this game was the chainsaw guys. Like
yeah,
they took a lot. Like you would have to like so that's the other thing with this game. Along with reloading your gun, you also your flashlight. You could just shine on the enemies or wherever, but it wouldn't. You'd really have to use like the high beam power of it. And when you use the high beam power, it would lose batteries. So you'd also have to replace the batteries on that. So that was a cool addition, another thing to worry about and be a challenge. But you could go through a few batteries with those chainsaw guys.
Yeah. I mean, they're meant to be like mini bosses, I guess. So
Yeah.
I use my flare on them a lot. The flare gun, sorry.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the flare gun was great. And the flares are really useful. Like you could just like one strategic thing you can do is drop a flare to like a path of flares as you're moving to try to get to a checkpoint where there was always light and the enemies couldn't get into.
Yeah. I did that a couple of times.
you know, an enemy I actually kind of thought was cool. The one that was like invisible and it would kind of like
Oh
move
yeah.
really quickly
Yeah.
around you.
I
Yeah.
I hated those.
Yeah, they were annoying to deal with.
Sometimes like, I'm just there like waiting for it to show itself and it just keeps running around and like not.
Yeah.
And so I just like there was one time where I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna leave. And I just went to the next checkpoint and
That must have
Yeah,
been a glitch. It's
well, it wasn't a
cool.
glitch, right?
No,
You
no,
could run away from
you
you, like
can
you don't have to kill all the
yeah,
enemies.
no, no.
or no, depending on no meaning yes.
Yeah, there's actually one of the trophies is getting to like the start of an episode to some point in the middle/end, not all the way at the end, but like towards the end, without firing a weapon.
Oh, tell me more about these trophies because I know you got all of them. So we
Yeah,
could.
I did. So
Can you use a flare?
yeah, you could use flares and flashbangs, but you couldn't shoot a gun. So you couldn't use your flare gun and you couldn't use your regular
Yeah.
guns. So that was, hold on, I can pull up what section that was. I think that was episode 4.
Just go through your trophy list.
Yeah, it's you managed to make it all the way from the dam to Cauldron Lake without firing a single bullet. So it's towards the end. And then
Yeah,
the one I had to go back to get it's the trophy called An Idyllic Small Town, and it's you have to get to that's the one where you start off in jail and then you eventually get to the helicopter, so you have to do that whole part without dying.
yeah. I'm remembering these parts. Obviously, I'm not remembering like how long these parts are
Well,
between that and that.
That one had a lot of battling.
yeah,
That
that one Yeah, exactly. That one had a lot of battling. There's two sort of main parts. There's the one where you're just with Sheriff Breaker, and she's opening the lock to the church, and all the enemies come. So like that's the one big fight scene, and then right before they go onto the helicopter, like Sarah and uh, Sheriff Breaker and Barry are like getting it ready, and you have to fend off all of the like that little gauntlet there. So that was tough.
So speaking of enemies that I didn't like, what about those birds?
I thought they were cool though. Like that was a
Ah,
cool addition. But yeah, they were tough. They were tough on Nightmare, like the parts they were in. 'Cause it's just like,
I thought they were like cool, but if they were there like once or maybe twice,
yeah,
I like use that they use them way too much
mm,
for what they
yeah,
were.
they were annoying to fend off. Like really, annoying. It was
it's
not in
cool
like
though.
a hard, challenging way. It was just dumb.
One, it was cool though. Like if they were charging at you and you shot a flare into them, it's like you knock them all gone in like that
Yeah.
one shot. I don't know. Again, it's like, yeah, it's annoying to deal with, but like this is what makes a game unique and memorable.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I did think the combat was fun.
Yeah.
Against the non-bird or poltergeist
Hmm.
enemies.
Yeah. And there was, it was a pretty high action game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there were a lot of those kind of gauntlet type things. You
Mm.
know,
At the Anderson farm.
Well, okay, that's what I was gonna
yeah,
say. That to me is the best part of the game and the most memorable part of the game. That was the part of the game that I remembered back from 2010 or whenever I played it originally, that like
Yeah.
wanting to play it again this year, and it was, or when I played, well, which was this year. Um, but it's so awesome. So we just have to describe it. I mean, it's like the Anderson brothers are they're two like old rock and roll, like washed up kind of brothers. They have this farm at the in Bright Falls, and this particular scene, you get to the farm. They have a whole stage show constructed with like a dragon and all of these fireworks. And you're there with Barry, and Barry is controlling all of the pyrotechnics, which obviously helps you throughout the battle. But it's also really funny that part because he's like fidgeting with everything, and he's like, "Oh, I can't believe it! What do I do here?" And it's like, but like then he'll accidentally like bring the light on to clear a bunch of enemies like when it's getting really tough, and like that whole time you're gathering weapons and like shooting them and still because they're coming from all sides of the stage. It's just, I don't know, it's just a great, and the Anderson brothers rock and roll song is playing in the background, which just like made it all the more cooler. It was just
Yeah.
so
the
awesome.
the old guards of Asgard.
Of Asgard, yeah.
They were very Norse mythology themed.
Yes, yes, which was also in Max Payne a little bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that part was cool. Like it was very I feel like that's the iconic moment in that game.
Oh yeah, so great.
So a couple of things. Since you mentioned Max Payne again, I believe there is a couple of manuscripts that is read like in his voice.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know, but so Alan Wake, I guess what made him famous in the world of the game was his book about Alex Casey, who was a detective, and I think there's some sort of like connection between Max Payne and Alex Casey.
Yeah, I think in that late night show we were talking about at
Yeah,
the beginning of the episode,
Sam
they
Lake
mentioned like the
is
hard boiled detective or
yeah,
something.
and he's sitting next to someone other than the host of the show. I think it might be the guy who played Max Payne.
Oh, I didn't.
It kind of looks like him a little bit. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Sam Lake.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. If you can get like a screenshot or like a slow down image of it, but you might be able to see it. Um,
Another thing I want to mention in the DLC, right? You go back to the farm,
yeah.
right? And then there's kind of another gauntlet that's not as fun.
Yeah. Well, that's basically the last boss section, if you want to call it that, of the second DLC. That's when you're facing all of the like your friends essentially. But it's your, is that not that part?
No, I don't think
Oh,
so.
oh, okay. It's not the part where you're facing Barry and the Anderson brothers and Dr.
No,
Hartman and all. Oh, okay. All
no,
right.
no.
My mistake. Yeah, it's got a lot of cool parts. Like it has the driving parts, it has the running away from the cops part, and it's like I feel it does throw some horror things in. Like I like the part where you're on like that sort of mine cart. And it's just like I don't know, that's like Resident Evil had a section like that. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and when you're on the what the hell you even call it? The thing that's going over the gap. It's suspended in air and then the crows come at you.
Yeah, that's the mine
Yeah.
cart I meant. It was like, yeah, I guess it's not really in a mine, so but like yeah, like a trolley almost kind
Yeah,
of a
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning. But yeah, that's and I just feel it's cool. Like you're getting the manuscript pages, so like clearly the whole point is that he wrote this story and it's coming to life to attack him. And then like why he's writing the story kind of gets revealed. I feel a little bit more in the DLCs. But I guess throughout the game, like you kind of come to learn, and this is where the story really develops that like Thomas Zane kind of maybe had a hand in accidentally bringing the dark presence. Like there's something in Cauldron Lake where it's like this. It's almost I don't know. I've heard it described in a way that made me think it was like almost like Stranger Things. It's like where under the lake is you kind of get pulled into this other dimension, like almost like an upside down or something. So and I think that's where the lore kind of expands.
Yeah. I don't know. The manuscript stuff was cool that it was telling the story, but I didn't really fully understand. So like the kidnapper was like demanding that Alan like give him
The
the
manuscript.
manuscripts. And Alan's like, "Oh, I need more time to write it." And it was like, "I need a week." And the kidnapper was like, "You have 2 days." And it was
Yeah.
like, first of all, it's so corny, but it's just like, I didn't understand, like, why not just write it and be like, "Oh, and all the bad guys died and
No,
everything was,
but
like,
I think that was the point, and because they make a point of saying Thomas Zane screwed up because the reason why he wrote. So basically, this place has supernatural powers where artist creativity sort of comes to life. And Thomas Zane was a poet there, and his girlfriend Barbara Jagger drowned, and they kind of make a point to say that Thomas Zane tried to like write her back into existence, basically, and then that screwed something up because
hmm.
it screwed up the balance, and that kind of gave the dark presence the upper hand. Like, and that's the whole point with another kind of cool character, which was oh, what's her name? What's the old
Cynthia Weaver.
Cynthia Weaver? She kind of alludes to that fact that like you can't. It's almost like cheating. Like she died, and you just tried to bring her back without giving something up, and it would not take that imbalance, and then that's what so that was kind of cool, I thought, and and it's kind of the reason why at the end of it Alan saved his wife, but he had to sacrifice himself. So that's so he did it more in the correct way, is which
Right.
what they alluded to, which is so
To the game's credit, the story I felt was confusing, but they did, make an honest effort to
yeah,
explain things as the episodes went along.
yeah. And I think, and whether people like this or not, I think these webisodes and these accompanying books and stuff do kind of help with that.
Yeah, those things are cool if you're really
Yeah.
into the game.
It's funny. They I've seen screenshots of the side by sides, which you'll often see in these remastered games. And I have to say, it's like while the remastered graphics are, I guess, technically better, it still isn't like so much. I don't know. It isn't as real life as some of the more recent remasters, and they still have almost that like uncanny valley kind of eye goings ons and like facial movements that aren't really accurate. Whereas like at least the original one, it was like Xbox 360 graphics, and it was what it was, and it was good for the time, and it was good. So I almost like I don't know. I guess it's good they remastered it because it, brought it back up to the top of the queue of a lot of people and made it more accessible for people. But like, I don't know if this was necessarily such a great remastering job.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really feel that this game needed a remaster. I mean, maybe to bring it to more
Yeah,
consoles. I guess that was really the point of it more. But yeah, so maybe that speaks as to why it wasn't like this big like rebuild or anything.
yeah,
But
and
yeah, I
that,
mean, Xbox 360 games, they look decent enough. You won't be offended if you go back and play an Xbox
yeah,
360 game by the
right,
graphics.
right. That's PS3, Xbox 360 era, right? So
Yeah,
yeah, so that's not that long ago. But the remaster also brought us the two DLCs, um,
that's true.
which I had, which
They
I
had some cool
played. And
mechanics too.
what's that?
They had some cool, like, slightly different mechanics in those, like using the flashlight to,
On words.
yeah, like on words to produce things
Oh,
in the
yeah,
scene. But
yeah,
then also, like, I think I'm thinking of like in more like a combat context, they had like you can use the flashlight to make an explosion, or
yeah. Those
that
are
one scene where like I don't even know if they are like furnaces or something, and like
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. The big furnaces. You shoot
it
the
would
light
explode.
on them, and it would shoot the fire out.
Yeah, shoot the fire out at the enemies and basically instant kill them. So
Yeah,
some
Yeah.
stuff there.
and then
Yeah, there's also like you shine a light on the word, I forget what it, roll or something, and the barrel would roll, and then you could
right.
shoot it and it would
You
explode.
wouldn't even have to shoot them. Like if they rolled into the enemy, it would blow
Oh,
up. They
okay.
were,
Yeah,
yeah. And then there was at the very end of the second DLC called The Rider. It was, you're near the lighthouse and you're climbing up the hill, and the lighthouse is on. And if you, I think the word was crumble, and then the rocks would crumble, and the light would be able to shine
All
onto
right,
the
yeah.
enemies. Like that was pretty cool too. Yeah. Yeah, those were
I
tough. I had a very The Evil Within feel from the DLCs because it was really like the world was torn apart at that in a
yeah,
lot of them. Like,
sure, yeah, yeah.
you're
Mhm.
climbing rocks that are suspended in space and there's like stuff flying around and it just like it got all the more weird for those.
Yeah. I feel like I did not enjoy the DLC as much as the regular game.
Yeah, I mean,
There were parts that were I don't know. I just feel like they just like
slapped it together.
yeah, like just try to put things that they think fans would like.
Yeah, I think the biggest reason maybe for them was to kind of definitively state, for if people couldn't figure it out, that Alan Wake was in the dark world, the dark place, I think it was technically called. Like he wasn't in the real world anymore. And it introduced Mr. Scratch, who was like his evil, maybe doppelganger, but like it's also alluded that Thomas may have brought him in to the world, or either purposely or accidentally, just to have this balance. I don't know. That might get further explained in other things, but yeah, I mean, look, the story's a bit convoluted, but I feel like a lot of good stories are. And like Tom said, I think they made an attempt to make it somewhat understandable. Um, what else? What else is there on Alan Wake?
Well, there's definitely stats.
Ah, stats it is. Let's do stats. We could always talk
Yeah.
about something else if we think of something.
Unfortunately, they don't track your deaths, right?
No. So there are a lot of collectibles for the listeners in this game. There's the manuscripts as we mentioned, and some of them are very obvious. There's a couple that you get basically as part of the game. There's another large handful that are right on your path and you won't miss them. And then there's others that are kind of squirreled away in places that really are not easy to get if you're playing somewhat in a linear fashion. Um,
Yeah, so let's start there.
so the manuscript pages, there are 106 in total, and
hmm
there are 9 or 10, I think, somewhere in that range that you could only get on nightmare mode. So I know you guys didn't get
Ah,
those. I obviously I'm giving for me I'm giving my stats from my normal playthrough, so I won't have those either. But
But that was on. Okay.
yeah,
So it
I'm
wasn't
saying
a
I
nightmare.
eventually did get the other one since
Yeah.
again I got the plat.
Wow. Okay,
Anyway,
so I'll go. I had 65 manuscripts.
I
I
had 83.
Oh, Tom won. I had 79.
Oh, we, do they keep a stat for how many manuscripts that you actually read? Because then I have zero.
I don't see that stat here.
You didn't have to read them. You could just listen to Alan talk up like,
True, true.
narrate it. All right.
Now, what about the all important coffee thermoses?
Yes, there were a bunch of coffee thermoses.
100, right?
Alan Wake lived
100.
hard, drank a lot of coffee. Yes, there were 100.
So I had 65 manuscripts. I had 66 thermoses.
Wow.
So I
Impressive.
had 83
Wow.
manuscripts and I had 85 thermoses.
Oh wow.
Wow. All right. I guess you guys did do some exploring. I had 63 thermoses.
Yeah, so I want to clarify a point that this was the stats that I'm relaying now were from my playthrough when the remaster first came out.
Okay. And then you
What
replayed it again?
I replayed it, whatever, a month
Couple.
ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so these stats here, I made sure to screenshot it before I restarted the game so
Oh,
that
nice.
it wouldn't like add extra kills and
Yeah,
whatnot.
yeah, yeah.
So,
All right, good. That's pretty much what I did. Except I
so
didn't play it when it first came out. This was my first,
gotcha.
you know, playthrough of the remaster. Um,
Yeah. But so like back then when I was playing it for the first time, I think I was more
yeah, exploring.
yeah, more exploring. And then like I didn't really want it this time around because I know that I probably found a bunch of them already.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Another thing is there's 12 pyramid cans throughout, which you can knock over. And you have to knock over only five of those 12 to get the trophy for that, I believe. But it is
Well,
something I did not do in my first playthrough because I only knocked over three.
Hmm. I only knocked
so
over two.
you only knocked over two. So I officially only knocked over one, but that's because I found one, shot it, and nothing happened. So when I saw others, I didn't shoot him because I
Uh,
didn't want to burn the bullet.
well,
Yeah.
So like,
you shot at it and it didn't register as it hitting it, which sometimes the gun was like not great at connecting in this game, I
no,
feel.
no, I think it knocked down the cans,
Oh,
but
really?
That it's
I didn't realize that that was like a
Oh, the
collectible.
thing. Okay. All right. Uh, chests. So there were these chests set up by kind of you don't know, but they had a lot of um, supplies for you throughout the game, and they were so most of them were off the beaten path, where it would be kind of hard to get to you, where you would have to explore. So there were
30 in
30
total.
in total.
I found a third of those, 10.
Ah, I found 15.
Oh, I found 25.
Wow.
You must have really needed supplies.
All right. There was
What about
also
TV shows?
okay, we'll skip the radio shows one, apparently.
Okay, let's do radio.
So the radio show was basically there was a small broadcaster, Pat Main. Um, he was sort of the radio show host, and you could find these radios strewn throughout Bright Falls and click them on, and that would go to the collectible. There were 14 in total.
No, that was a TV show. There was 11
Oh,
radio
yeah,
shows.
some peanut gummies. Yeah, there was 11 radio shows. All right. I'll go first. I had eight.
I'll
I
go
had
next.
7, so you beat me. Sorry, Tom.
Oh,
How many did you have, Pete?
7.
Oh, okay.
I had 11. I mean, sorry, 10. 10 out of 11.
Pretty good.
All right, Tom, doing good. All right, the TV shows, which were cool because they were the Night Spring shows, the Twilight Zone corollary. Um,
What is a Twilight Zone for our younger listeners?
well, there was a new Twilight Zone, but Twilight Zone was hosted by Rod Serling and was what in the
Oh, that helps our younger
60s? Yeah,
listeners
it
understand.
was a show. It was kind of like before the new show Black Mirror. That was kind of like
Our
the
younger listeners might know what Black Mirror is.
yeah, exactly. So
It's a good comparison, too.
yeah. All right, there were 14 in total. I may have you guys beat on this one. I had 13.
I only had 12 of these.
Mhm.
I also had
No,
13.
I tied for first. All right, and then finally there was various different signs throughout Bright Falls that you could find. There was 25 in total that would count towards this goal. Um, I had 15.
I only had 12 of those, and I think the problem with it is that you would have to like
But
interact with them to
yes.
actually get it to count, and I didn't always do that. So
Ah.
Oh, that must have been why I only had 9.
All right, and that's it. And then there are other collectibles in the DLCs,
yeah,
which I don't have here.
So the listeners who haven't played Alan Wake yet, you kind of see that it's like a lot of these random collectibles that are just scattered throughout the whole game. I mean, it's fun for us because we could compare, but if you're just playing individually, I really don't know how much that's adding.
yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if they all are associated with trophies, but I know some of them are, and there are a lot of people who are into trophy hunting or achievement hunting, whatever. So
Yeah, I liked it. I thought that was cool.
And we
Um,
don't have to go through them, obviously, but again, just for listeners, they do keep other stats like kills with certain guns and how many batteries you used, how many birds you killed.
yeah, yeah. Those are you have to get like a certain amount of kills with every gun, kill I think 1,000 birds, all of that goes towards like the trophies and stuff.
You would know because you got them all.
how
Gotta
many
get them all.
indirect kills did you have?
Did you say direct or indirect?
Indirect.
I don't even know what that
I'm not
means.
sure what it means either.
That's like if you
I had 87 of them.
Oh wow.
I had 99.
I had
That's like
200,
it.
I had 250.
Tom blew us out of the water with this stat. The
Well, that's because
that's
we were
like if
getting
you
more
had
direct kills.
that's if like you shined like remember that like Transformers section? I think if you like
Yeah.
shined the light in the guy's eyes and he backed into the electrical and blew up, like
Oh,
that would be an
that
indirect
part was
kill.
cool, actually. I'm glad you
Yeah.
mentioned that.
Yeah. That and then every once in a while there was like these swinging electrical wires that were, live wires and like sometimes they would go into that as
Oh
well.
yeah. I was always like, I could just shoot him and it would be much faster, but I'm going to try and make him walk into
Yeah.
the thing.
And the DLC added collectibles, right? Like the
Yeah.
video games.
And
Yeah.
alarm clocks and yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
the Alan Wake poster.
So lots and lots of collectibles.
Yeah, that was cool.
All right. I guess before we give our final thoughts, we just wanted to maybe talk about the time of the game or not. All right.
The play time, you mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
I
my
I
play,
do not have that recorded. Well, I
yeah,
mean, it must be recorded, but I don't have it handy.
I don't think they had an official recording of it in like the game stats or anything. My PlayStation app logged 16 hours on the game. This was before I replayed it, so a single playthrough, including both of the DLC chapters, which were episodes, which were, I would
About
say,
an hour,
maybe a
right?
little bit over an hour each.
Yeah.
And as we saw in my stats, I explored probably more than the average person would, so you could probably, I don't know, shave an hour or so off of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that actually makes sense. I had thought maybe it was about like 12 or 13 hours, but my app is saying 37 hours, and that's with a playthrough on normal, a playthrough on Nightmare, and both DLCs on Nightmare um as well. So, you take 2 hours off for the DLCs, that's 35 hours, and then you divide that by two. Um, what is that? 16 and a half
15
hours.
and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
So
I feel like
it's yeah.
each episode is maybe 2 hours, but that's if you don't die, and you're gonna die some. So that's approaching 14, 15 hours. That'll be how long it'll take you to beat the game.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I'm surprised it took so
yeah.
long to make a sequel.
Yeah. And I'm kind of guessing this remaster was probably put out
Yeah.
also because they were like, okay, we are making this sequel.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true.
Yeah.
I think there were a few like QR codes in the remaster. From what I was reading, I didn't actually experience
Yeah,
this.
I scanned one and it led
Oh,
to
you
a
did?
video.
But to the
YouTube
what?
video?
It led to a YouTube video.
Right, right.
Wait, they're in
And
the
that was supposed.
game?
There's QR codes in the game, so you could hold it up.
Oh,
You could scan it using your phone, holding it up to your TV. And
oh wow. I don't remember ever seeing those.
I think I saw it too. The
I
first,
think there were. I think there were two.
okay, yeah,
Oh, that's it.
the first one I did it, and it led to a YouTube video which I didn't watch because I was playing the game.
You didn't go back and
I,
watch it?
it was supposed to promote Alan Wake 2, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that would be my guess, but
And then, yeah, so when I got to the second one, I was like, I'm sure it's just going to be the same thing, or like lead me to a different YouTube video that I'm not going to watch. So
oh,
I didn't even bother scanning it.
I wonder where they were. I gotta look that up.
I don't remember. I think one of them may have been in Alan's apartment.
Hmm, like on one of the books or something, or just yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
On the wall. Yeah,
Yeah, something like that.
That's cool.
yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
But the games, I think it sold. Talking about the original Alan Wake,
Hmm.
I think it sold fairly well.
Yeah.
I was reading that it was actually, I think this was on Wikipedia, so it's not like I've done some extensive research, but it was released the same week as Red Dead Redemption. So at first, the
Oh.
sales were not too good.
Is Red Dead that old? The original was PlayStation 3, yeah, so yeah. Wow.
Red Dead is a good game. I would not want to compete with that.
Yeah, that's a tough one to compete with.
Hmm. Gotta see if we could fit it into a category
But
and play it.
I just don't get that. Like, if I just saw those two games, I wouldn't say, "Oh, Red Dead's better." But I guess like as people play it, it kind of snowballs in a good way. Like if the game is better after you play it, and then more people want to play that one, and the reviews are a little bit better. I don't know if that's how it works, but like, because I don't know. I think if you were to put Red Dead and Alan Wake like before me with just some like clips and stuff like that, and I had to pick one to buy, I'd probably pick Alan Wake.
Trailers.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
Like,
remember that time, obviously, but you probably, like you mentioned, reviews and stuff. This probably was
Just like
just more.
hype before the
Yeah,
game even comes out, is a big thing.
yeah. All right, I think that's all I have.
all right, let's give our final thoughts on Alan Wake. Who wants to go first?
I'll go. I mean, like I mentioned at the or near the beginning of the episode, I did have fun playing this game. And also, like I mentioned, I wouldn't go telling my friends about it. So I guess that kind of means I wouldn't recommend it. But it was fun and but a bit simple and it was really heavy on the narrative and that's not my thing in games. So
But in this game, you could read a book. They give you the manuscript.
that's true. But I still didn't do it. So, all in all, like I'm not gonna make fun of you if you really like this game, but I'd say pass on this. There's other games to play to spend your time with that are maybe better.
All right, I'll go next. I think it's a very good game. To me, it's unique. It's interesting playing a writer as opposed to like a detective or a military guy or something like that in a game or someone with supernatural abilities. It's like as even though personality wise it might not come through, especially early on. I think it's as close to a regular guy as you can play um, in a game. So I thought that was kind of cool, and it's just unique changes to things that already exist, like it's survival horror in the sense you get guns, you're shooting these supernatural enemies, but breaking away the darkness with the flashlight and all of that creates such another cool element to it. And just while I didn't think the acting was good, I think the characters are pretty cool and interesting in this game. From Cynthia Weaver and Barry and the Anderson brothers. So it's really cool in that sense. It doesn't rely on like the big bosses like a lot of um, other horror games might. So that's kind of a cool little switcheroo as well. Um, and the story's good. And as I'm learning now, it's kind of like they've built out this world with webisodes and books and stuff like that, and now Alan Wake 2. So I would definitely recommend it. It's got some really cool parts. It's certainly a good, certainly a worthwhile play, and I hope you do it. Um, oh, and I do know before Tom goes and we end the episode, we did not say what we played it on. So it's kind of a weird point to be doing that, but I will say I played on my PlayStation 5. I believe it was the PlayStation 4 version on my PlayStation 5. Pete, what'd you play on?
Yeah, I played the remastered version on PS4, I believe. I
Yeah.
played it on.
Yeah, mine is the remaster too, obviously. All right, Tom, go. Tell us what you played on, give us your final thoughts, and then we'll be
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, so I most recently played it on my PS5. I guess it was the PS4 version. Um, but as I mentioned earlier, I did play the original Xbox 360 version too.
Me,
Um,
me too.
as far as final thoughts go, I mean,
Oh, wait, and I don't think I said, did I say I recommend it? I recommend it.
okay.
All right, sorry, Tom. I will not interrupt you again.
I think it could be inferred that you would recommend it,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm going to recommend it too. No, I mean, it's just a fun game. You know, even if you don't care about story or whatever, you'll have fun playing the game. So, I mean, that's why you should play games to have fun. Um, so, I mean, I don't have to say much more than that, I don't think, but I'm going to anyway. Um, yeah, I mean, the story is interesting if you're into that kind of thing too. So, and like I said, they they do provide you with a lot of context as you make it through the game. It's not just like this obscure, like convoluted mess, and then you end up finishing the game and not knowing what actually happened. So I like that about it. And like I said, I liked the characters. I thought some of them were well acted, and I thought it was kind of an immersive game too. So um, yeah, I think it had a lot of strong points to it, which is why I would recommend it.
All right, there you have it. Alan Wake. And I guess we could call it Alan Wake Remastered, but Alan Wake and Alan Wake Remastered. Thank you for checking in with us and listening. Be sure to check us out on X, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube at Bros Boss Battles. That's BROS Boss Battles. And our website, brothersandbossbattles.com. Make sure to like and subscribe and follow and doing all that kind of stuff wherever you get this podcast. Next episode will be our Bro Down episode, where Alan Wake, Max Payne, and Victor Vran go up against each other. We'll see you then. Take care, everyone.